We had some crazy movement in the stock market yesterday. Around the FOMC meeting, we seen the market start selling off pretty hard, but Microsoft and Meta came in strong to save the market overall after hours, and it's going up even more. They beat expectations by a lot. We're going to be talking more about that a little bit later, but it brought the SPY up even more past 641, past some all-time highs, and honestly, this may be able to bring the certainty that we lost the beginning of the week back into the market and maybe make some new highs later on too. With it all being said though, have your patience. But we have a lot to cover today. We're going to be giving you guys some sports and resistance towards the end of the video and some plays. So you guys don't want to miss out on anything at all. So let's get started. So first off, we're going to talk about something that people have been waiting for and anticipating for a while. We kind of knew what was really going to go on anyway with the decision. We kind of already knew that we were going to hold rates steady. It was at a 97.4%. It would have been insane if he actually cut rates anyway. But with that being said, let's talk more about the FOMC interest rate decision. They left rates unchanged. There was a 97% chance of a pause. They kept it the same for the 5th straight meeting. So pausing it for the 5th straight meeting. They are seeing a little bit more elevated inflation in the short term. There were a lot of things that made the overall economy look a little worrying with what he said overall. And there was actually 2 people that disagreed and said that they wanted a cut as well. So honestly, man, there's more pressure on the Fed overall. But this one is the new Fed tool, and this one is the older one that we want to look at, because we can see that there are some percentages that changed overall, especially with the 55 and the 45. That changed, especially with this rate cut, and it brought down the market because people are seeing less of a chance that we're going to cut in September. But we are also seeing that traders are showing that there might not be a cut in September, with the odds going down from the previous 67% to 45%, and then 55% of them holding the rate steady. So honestly, man, the odds are honestly changing a decent amount, especially for the September cut. So that can bring the market down overall, but with Meta and Microsoft reporting great earnings, especially Robinhood as well, but Robinhood kind of fell down a little bit. But Meta, Microsoft is kind of carrying the market right now, and other stocks like Nvidia that we're going to be talking about a little bit later, and some other ones. First link in the description below, I have a bunch of courses to help you guys become more profitable. I have a long term that gives you guys 40 free stocks to outperform the S&P 500, especially in this time. And I also have, how to read charts, basic beginner things for trading overall, and how to make money off of $0 on your computer. So go check out these courses with that code down below. You guys can get 50% off. So if you look at Meta and Microsoft, man, they made some big movements to the upside, gaining like $50 on Microsoft and like $70 on Meta, which is insane. We've seen Meta kind of just consolidating a little bit, going down throughout, like to the earnings, and then even selling off a little bit, but then earnings beat by a lot, honestly, and it looked pretty good, and it brought the market up overall. And honestly, this is just an insane move. If you guys were in this, you guys made a bunch of money. Meta earnings was fantastic. It climbed 10% like we just showed on revenue beats and raised their forecast. They crushed their EPS and revenue. EPS came in at 7.14 versus their expected of 5.92, which is honestly insane. And the revenue came in at 47.52 versus 44.8. Honestly, just crazy movements overall. So honestly, man, we're looking at a continuation for Meta overall. And it's got Meta to all-time highs. So can we maintain all-time highs? Maybe beat them again. Maybe get to 780, maybe even 783 once again, and then maybe break past that to 800. Potentially. Honestly, Meta is that one stock that you want to get into, but not at all-time highs, of course. But honestly, man, it's looking pretty good, and what all they're doing is honestly insane. So Microsoft, man, we've seen an 8% move with that as well. The EPS was 3.65 versus 3.37. Revenue was 76.44 billion versus 73.81. These earnings are going to bring the overall optimism in the market higher, especially with how we started this week. Not gonna lie, it wasn't really looking too good at first. But honestly, man, this is pretty great for the market overall. But speaking of earnings, we do have CVS, Roblox. I know a lot of people that made a bunch of money recently on Roblox, but Roblox, MasterCard, those are like the main ones before market open that I'm personally watching. And then after close, a lot of people were waiting for this one, and me as well, is going to be Apple, Amazon, Coinbase, Reddit, some other ones that are pretty decent. And then Friday, we just got some like oil stocks and stuff like that. ExxonMobil is pretty decent. I got this in my long term, so I'm pumped for that one too. But Apple, with the movements that we're looking like, man, it's looking like people aren't really optimistic about Apple's earnings. And if we look at it from the chart, man, we've just been in a constant downward trend. And honestly, man, we are kind of gaining a little bit of momentum back. But with that being said, man, we might go to the downside even more going into earnings. With that all being said, though, Apple is that one stock that hasn't been rallying with other stocks. You know, if we look at Nvidia, but Nvidia just been getting some good news, but Nvidia's chart just looks insane right now. But with that all being said, man, Apple still is down like 16% from the overall tariff start. And then honestly, just hasn't really gained anything back. We did get to like 215, almost 220, but honestly, man, they're lacking with AI and stuff like that. So honestly, I'm very, very pumped to see how the earnings go. Maybe they can announce something on AI, bring the stock up. I got some of this in my long term, but honestly, man, if the earnings aren't good, which I'm low key hoping that we get back down to maybe like the 205 to the 200, and you can play a little like long term call option on that thing and just let it hold for a little bit for a couple of days. And then honestly, if we get down to that 200 level to that 199, we can potentially get back up to at least 205 to that 210 back up with Apple. That's what I've been seeing. You know, like a month ago or something like that, where when we were down at that 200 level, where it normally bounces back, but it normally bounces back to that 200. So if we get lower than 200, that's just a better play overall. But I'm gonna be playing this play maybe 2 months out, something like that, just to make it more safer. Because honestly, man, Apple, if it's like really really bad, it might start falling down even more. So I'm gonna base it on the earnings and stuff like that. But I think Apple can potentially come back if we do have a big sell off, and or we might see a big buy, maybe get Apple back up to like that 220 225 range. But honestly, just depends on earnings go. Honestly, man, I think their phone sales are still doing pretty decent, but it's just the lack of AI. But honestly, man, I'm not even gonna lie, you don't really need AI on your phone. I mean, it is kind of convenient, but at the same time, I don't think it's a selling factor that much. Honestly, I barely use it on a Samsung. So honestly, man, I don't think you'll really need it on Apple. It doesn't really change it. You can just download ChatGPT if you truly want it. But I mean, Siri having AI capabilities is probably dope too. But honestly, man, they have an ecosystem that is irreplaceable. So another thing that's bringing the stock market up overall, Trump announced a trade deal with South Korea at 15% trade tariff rate. The United States and South Korea has finalized a new trade agreement, voiding the 25% tariff that was set to hit South Korea imports. The deal establishes a 15% tariff rate on most South Korean goods entering the U.S. As part of an agreement, South Korea has committed to investing $350 billion in the United States and purchasing $100 billion worth of American energy products. We've been seeing this a lot where they invest into the United States and they get a lower tariff rate, basically just buying their way in. And honestly, we've been seeing this a lot. So you can see US energy stocks go up, especially once we make more deals. I think that's what he's mainly waiting for China to make a good deal where they invest into us and then we get like maybe like a 15% tariff rate on them. If not, it might be a little bit higher. Also, the deal also ensures that South Korea's market will be fully open to American products, including cars, trucks, and other goods. The announcement comes as part of a larger push by the US to renegotiate trade relationships with key partners around the world overall. And honestly, man, deals like this is going to bring the US up even more. Also, Chinese authorities have summoned representatives from the US based AI chip giant NVIDIA to address serious security issues related to its H20 AI chips. The Cyberspace Administration of China has raised concerns about potential backdoor vulnerabilities in the chips, which were specifically developed to export to China. This moves comes shortly after NVIDIA and other US chip makers resumed sales to China following assurance from Washington that the shipments would be approved. The situation is complex as it's intertwined with ongoing trade tensions and national security concerns with both the US and China. US lawmakers have also proposed that advanced AI chips should include location tracking, which adds another layer to the dispute overall. So honestly, man, this might prevent China from getting the chips if they think there's a security issue. And honestly, man, this is honestly just getting out of hand. But with that being said, man, Wednesday is over. The FOMC interest rate is over too, but we might still see some aftermath today with the stock market. But today we do have more data coming out that can move the market. So basically an hour before market opens, we have a bunch. We have initial jobless claims, employment cost index, personal income, personal spending, PCE, and then honestly, the PMI comes out 15 minutes after market opens. So keep an eye on all of these data points. This can move the market overall and or get you some jumps up or downwards depending on how the data prints. And then Friday, August 1st, of course, we got the August 1st trade deadline. Don't forget about this. But we also have U.S. employment report, unemployment rate, hourly wages, and then year over year PMI, ISM, construction spending, consumer sentiment, and some auto sales that come out. So keep all this on your mind and on your radar for the day. But that all being said, man, let's get to some supports and resistance and some potential plays that I am looking at. So first off, let's talk about AMD. I'm not really personally trying to get into AMD yet, but it is moving pretty decently. I'd rather just get into NVIDIA. NVIDIA just has some bigger movements. But honestly, man, we have been seeing AMD get up some, and honestly, you can make some decent amount of money with this one. Honestly, man, maybe next week we'll see this one at $200. But with that being said, to the upside, look at that 185, 187.5, and then finally that 190. That'd be insane if you can get to 190 by the end of the week. That would just bring market certainty up overall. To the downside, though, we'll look at that 182.5. 181 and that 180 level flat is going to be key. We can maybe get a bounce off of that and or, maybe break past it and honestly go to the downside even more. After that, look at 177.5 and that 175 level to the downside for AMD overall. Boeing, man, we have been selling off with Boeing overall. Earnings did pretty good, but honestly, man, didn't really do good enough, I guess, like we've seen with other stocks. With that all being said, though, we can fill the gaps upwards and we can also fill some gaps downwards. So keep that in mind. But to the upside, I'm going to be looking at 227.5, that 230 level, 231.5, and then all the way up to that 235 level. And then above that, I'm going to look at 237.5, 240, and then that 243 to see if we can break some highs. To the downside, though, I'm going to be looking at that 223.5, 221, 220 flat, and that 216.5 to the downside for Boeing. Just have your patience with this one, but when this one moves, it normally moves in a good trend upwards. But let's look at the overall SPY, man. We are at all-time highs once again, 640. Going to be looking and seeing if we can maintain that 640 level. Honestly, data can honestly move this as well. But if Meta, Microsoft, and we get an NVIDIA moving upwards, and maybe if Apple comes into play, we can see this stock go up higher, or this ETF go up higher. With that being said, though, if we hold above that 640, look at that 642.5, 645, 647.5, and that 650 level for the SPY. To the downside, though, if we break past that 640, look at that 639, 637.5, and that 635 level to the downside. Just have your patience with this one. But honestly, man, there has been some good movements that you can make a decent amount of money, especially when we get days when it does fall. Like yesterday, if you would have bought a call option, you would have been up so much money. Honestly, up almost $9. And honestly, some other days too, where we were like 635 and then we got up to like 636.7. That would have been like $1 in the money. Could still make some green, but not too much money, but just has some good movements. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about NVIDIA. But this one has been a great swing trade stock for me, especially yesterday. I bought it at the lows of 178 and we're all the way up to the 182 level. I'm hoping that maybe I can get a sell order at that 185, maybe potentially. I might do it a little bit lower, like 184.5. But with that all being said, if we just look at the chart, this has been a good swing trade stock overall, especially if you buy it, if you can scope out the lows of the day. Like let's say if you would have bought it at that 174.5 level and then you sell it at market open at 179.3, you would have made a decent amount of money. Honestly, I think this one is a play that you just should sell right at market open though as well. I mean, you might have a little bit of green like we see on this day where we go up a decent amount. But honestly, this just has been a good swing trade stock. And if it doesn't hit the next day, it's going to hit the day after that. So just understand NVIDIA is pretty good. But honestly, we are pretty high right now. So this is like a rinse and repeat play, but just keep your profits out of it. So if you make like, let's say if you made $2,000, don't put, that $2,000 on top of your normal trading, just maintain, let's say if you trade with $1,000 a day, just maintain that $1,000, take the profit, just leave it in your account and, or invest into, actual like stocks itself, but just don't risk too much when you rinse and repeat this play. That's what I've been doing. I just been, doing my normal money into it. And then honestly, just keeping the profits, maybe doing another play. But yeah, just have your patience in the video overall. I'm going to be watching that 185, like I said, past that 185, 187.5, and that 190. And also on top of that, you can sell at market open. And a lot of times we do have a little bit of a sell off. I mean, honestly, man, 2 days ago, the sell off was a little bit bigger, but we do see like a decent sell off. Like if you would have sold it like, at market open here, you would have probably been able to. But let's say for this one, you sold at market open, you could have bought it once it fell down a decent amount. Just have your buy order set, and then you can have another play. You can either make a day trade then and or hold it for the next day. But honestly, man, just have your patience with the video overall. But honestly, man, you can make money, and it's relatively pretty simple. Next one is going to be Apple, man. Apple, I'm not even going to scope out a play today. You guys know I normally been trading Apple the past couple of days as well. I mean, past month, honestly. With that all being said, though, earnings is tomorrow, and it can go one or two ways. So keep that in mind overall. But honestly, man, if you guys are looking at some price targets, maybe a day trade for this one, understand that the premiums might already be priced in. With that being said, I'm going to be looking at that 210, 211.5, and that 212, and then maybe 213. But honestly, maybe 212 to that 212.5. It's going to probably move a little bit slower. But to the downside, look at 208.5, 207.5. And if you break below that, 206.5 to that 205 level. Just please have your patience overall. Tesla, man, we did have a big sell-off yesterday and continued. If you would have bought a call option at that 312, honestly, man, you would have been up a decent amount. With that all being said, it didn't move as much as Meta, Microsoft, or anything like that. But honestly, this has been a great stock, and a lot of people has been making a lot of money on this one. Depending on which way it goes, you just got to have some balls to trade this one, because honestly, Elon Musk can just post and make it go the opposite way. But just have your patience with Tesla overall. I'm going to be waiting. I'm going to be watching this range that's in right now, that 300 to that 336 level now. Honestly, just seeing it bounce between this. So if we fall back down to that 300, I might just do like a longer term call option. And if we go up to like that 340 and then we fail break it, I might do a put option. But this one just determines, the overall market sentiment, and honestly, just Tesla news in general. With that all being said, though, comment down below what stocks you guys are watching, how much money you guys made for this week, man. It is almost Friday. It is Friday Junior right now, Thursday. So right now, man, we got to lock in those profits for the week. Get ready for next week, man. So just try to lock in some profits. Don't try and, overtrade or anything like that. Last 2 days of the week, you just want to lock in your profits, especially if you're already profitable for this week. You don't want to lose it on the last 2 days of the trading day. Friday is normally somehow my biggest day. So far, just been doing some day trades and or sometimes swing trades on Friday. But honestly, man, just have your patience with this market. Don't go red, and good luck trading, guys. Smash the like button, subscribe, check out some of those courses down below, and let's get the 500 subs. I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.